So for step 4, the gear case, well, this is where we're going to grab all the gears that we put together, the ball differential, the idler gear, etc., and put it all into the gearbox. And here are the gearbox pieces right here. So I've got them all ready to go. But there's one thing I do want to show you. Notice it says Cera grease, so the ceramic grease. I have decided that is what I'm going to do. In doing more research, that Molly, again I'm going to botch this, the molybdenum grease, it is more meant for metal versus plastic. And some forums are saying that if you use the molybdenum grease on anything but the metal, it eventually eats away at the plastics and creates failures. So there obviously is a reason why they're saying ceramic grease. So all of the gears, these are all plastic on the outside. Everything that was inside the ball differential is metal. So I would suggest that if you're trying to build this completely Tamiya, get yourself a tube of Cera grease. So I've got a new tube, so we'll be starting with that. And that's what I'll be using to put this together. I know originally I said I wasn't, but again, the more research I've done, the more I'm seeing that we need to use the ceramic grease. So I'll set this all up and let's put this together. So let's start with putting the ball differential into the gear housing. And based on this is the piece that we want, the S4. But the other thing to make note of, I don't know whether it matters at this stage yet, but you'll notice on this side, they are showing the grooved area. See, this side is smooth. There isn't one. This one has a grooved area. That side is facing outward. So we're going to do that. So that means if we grab one of these MA12 shims, that's going to fit over top of there. And it looks like it won't go into that ridge that's behind there, but it will sit there. And we'll grab one of the MA8 ball bearings. That's going to sit over top, just like that. So it's going to sit like that, and then the shim, okay. And on the other side, we're going to do the same thing. We need to grab the shim. That's going to sit back there, and we're going to grab our ball bearing. That's going to sit there. So that's ultimately what it's going to look like. And from there, the whole thing is going to sit inside there, and that's where the ball bearing is going to sit as well on the other side. So once we get that in place, it's interesting that they don't just, well, I can push the whole thing in and it's in there nice, exactly where it's supposed to be. So there we go. There's our ball differential in place. So if I just let that sit on the side for a second, you can now see that we've got these two other gears. So we've got our idler gear, and if you look at all the holes on that end, just so that it matches up with what we're seeing here, this idler gear is going to fit right there. So that's how it's sitting in the gearbox. And then this one here, you can see that it's got to be facing out. That is going to fit into the top hole right there. And actually, by the looks of it, it just sits fairly lightly. Yeah, that's it. That is how that is going to sit. So that is essentially what the gearbox is going to look like at this point. Now, it's showing that we've got to grease this all up, which is what we're going to do. So I am going to take, oh, that's already done. I am going to use this to spin the grease on. So you can see they're showing that this gear, the idler one, and the gear that was on here all have to be greased. So let's do that. So I'm just going to squeeze this in and squeeze some more and go around Now I've got a new tube grease, so I'm going to be fairly liberal with it. I'd rather have more grease in this than not enough. And again, the reason we're using this grease is because it's meant more for plastic gears versus metal gears. And it's getting on everything, so that's great. I've got enough on there. Anything I do now is pretty much overkill. Excellent. Okay, so now that we've got the gear case and the gears all in place, we're now going to grab the other side of the gear case, which is, you can see that this hole is going to match up with this one. That's going to fit over top of there. Just like that. And you'll notice that we've got one screw, and that one screw is going to fit in at this side and screw into the other. But the other thing you're going to notice with this, we're using the hex screwdriver. These are hex nuts, hex screws. So this is a definite upgrade from our usual JIS screws. So these are going to be a lot better. Awesome. And we just need to use, and I'm going to grab the other handle bit, I think, so I can get a better feel for this. That's better. And bring that in nice and tight. There we go. One more turn. Done. So there we go. There is our BBX gearbox complete. Very, very cool. Now there's more to it than that, because we've obviously got the motor and everything else that's got to be installed, but the actual gearbox is done. So step 4 is complete. So now we're going to move on to step 5 and attach the spur gear.